I'm Abrielle Millett for BYU-Idaho Radio, and I'm here with Brooke Henry, the Volunteer Recruitment Director at OSSO, also known as Orphanage Support Services Organization.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm excited.
Oh, that's exciting. It's exciting to be here with you and to learn more about the organization. Can you tell us a little more about who you are first, and then kind of your role and how you're a part of this organization?
Like you said, I'm Brooke. I'm originally from Rigby, Idaho, so just down the road from campus. I got married almost 3 years ago to my high school sweetheart, and we live here in Rexburg now. And he's going to school at BYU-Idaho, and then I work full-time for OSSO as their recruitment director. So I handle everything that has to do with interactions before application and acceptance to our program. So informing about opportunities. I work a lot with students from both BYU-Idaho and other universities all across Idaho and Utah pretty much. And, just let them know how they can get involved, why it's important, answer their questions, attend and organize events. And then I also help with some of the marketing that we do.
What would you want listeners to know who might not be familiar with OSSO and kind of what its mission is? How would you describe the organization?
Yeah, so OSSO is an Idaho-based 501c3 nonprofit. We're based here in Rexburg. We were founded in Rexburg. And our vision is that every child can feel loved and is deserving of love. And we kind of accomplish that by providing support, both financial and also, physical support in the form of volunteer work to, I think, around 15 different orphanages in Ecuador and Mexico. So the donations that we collect help provide food, diapers, housing, medical support, staff, really all of the basic needs of life. These donations help provide. And then our volunteers provide love. And that's what's really important. We believe, like I said, that every child is born deserving of love. And it's hard when there are, 20, 30, 40 sometimes different kids in one orphanage and only 2 staff members working at a time. And the staff members do their absolute best. They love those kids so much. But at the end of the day, you only have so many hours in the day. And when your time is going towards feeding the kids and making dinner and giving baths and getting kids ready for school, brushing their teeth, like all of the important things that have to get done, there isn't always time for the simple things, one-on-one connection, a hug after school, a pat on the back, enriching activities, helping with homework. Like that connection is lacking for these kids. And we know it's essential to human and child development. It's essential to the growth of these kids. And our volunteers get the really unique opportunity of stepping in and helping fill in where those gaps come up and really, really loving the kids. That's what we're all about.
That's a really cool focus. Like you said, just making sure every child feels loved. I think that's a very unique purpose. And like you said, there's so many basic necessities that are needed in an orphanage and different things, but there's something special and important about having those things that, in a normal family you might already get that love and support. And that's something that these kids deserve too, to feel that love.
Yeah, exactly. Like when, and every family is different. And here, even in Rexburg, different families have different dynamics. But when I would come home from school, my parents would be there, and my dad would help me with math homework, and my mom would go, we'd play tennis in the front yard, or we'd hit baseballs at the field after school. And those types of connections are so important and are awesome, incredible memories that I have from my childhood. And it's really unfortunate when kids, are denied that love and that support.
That's beautifully said. Do you know how this organization became to be? How did this Idaho nonprofit become something where they focus on like the orphanages specifically in Ecuador and the one in Mexico. How did that come to be?
Yeah. So Dr. Rex Head, he's from Rexburg. He founded the organization back in, 1998, 1999. He's a doctor. They had adopted some children. And to my understanding, the thought process was kind of, if we hadn't adopted these children, if, we hadn't taken them in and, they clearly love them with their whole heart, the same way they love their other children. But if they hadn't have done that, who would have been there for these kids that are so precious and that they love so much? And they started traveling all over the world and eventually landed in Ecuador. And I think they had a taxi driver. They just told the taxi driver to take them to an orphanage, and they showed up at one of our orphanages that we still work with today, 25, 26 years later. And they walked in with a couple bags of rice and essentially just said that they were there to help. And the nuns, this orphanage is run by nuns, they kind of gathered the kids and essentially told them, like, this man is here to help us. And that's where it started. He, at some point, moved his whole family down to Cuenca, Ecuador, where that orphanage is, and started working with the kids. And they had young kids at the time that would go and they would play with these kids, essentially like siblings. They would work with the children, and they started having BYU-Idaho students who would come down, and they would at first live with Rex and his family and work with the kids. And then as the program grew, they started working with host families from the ward in Cuenca, from all over the city, to host these college students. And they would work with those orphanages. We expanded, started working with more orphanages. And as the program grew, more volunteers equals more kids that we can help. So it was really cool to see. Eventually, we built our own volunteer housing. It's like a volunteer compound. It's really cool. It's got a volleyball court, like net in the yard, and several houses, dorm style apartments for students, family housing, couples housing. And then to the back of that, we built, with the help of some really generous donors, an orphanage specifically for children with special needs and disabilities. And that's really when the program kind of took off. We had our own housing. We had a new orphanage with kids with pretty severe disabilities that needed support. They needed donations to keep up with medical equipment, and they needed volunteers to push them in their wheelchairs, to sing to them, to read to them. And, from that point on, it's just kind of grown. We've expanded since then to 2 more locations. We have another location in Ecuador, in Quito, the capital. And then just in January of this year, we opened a location in Mexico. So
That's an incredible story, and I can see how the program has grown a lot. It said when I looked online, because you guys have a website for OSSO, it's called ossocares.org.
Yep.
And it said that you joined the team in 2024. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did you get involved with OSSO?
Well, I've always had an interest in, international humanitarian work. It's always been really important to me to be able to make a difference in my career. And I didn't really understand how to do that at first. Right after high school, I graduated and I spent 8, almost 9 months abroad in Latin America, just teaching English, doing service and humanitarian work. And that's when I fell in love with it. So coming home from that, obviously I didn't have unlimited money and I couldn't just stay out there forever. I had to come back and work. But it was kind of jarring to go from 24/7 service and immersion in new cultures and meeting so many beautiful people and kind of learning about that culture and their history and stuff like that. Coming from that, coming home to, I started working at a shoe store. It was just like very jarring. And that's when I sort of understood that making a difference was something that was really important to me. So I started looking for opportunities. I also found that I loved working with kids. I started working at an elementary school as a music teacher. And I think it's a combination of all of those experiences that when I saw the opening for this position, that kind of allowed me to get the job. And honestly, I think it was heaven sent. Heavenly Father knew that I needed something fulfilling and knew that I had the desire to work. And I think I really owe it to him, kind of helping the pieces fall into place. But between my volunteer experience and some previous recruiting experience, I landed the job initially just as the recruitment coordinator. And all I would do was events pretty much in Rexburg. So working with BYU-Idaho, some community events, outreach. And from there, it's kind of expanded as the program grows, as we expand to more locations, we need more volunteers. So we start working with more universities, more students, and the team has kind of grown. I have an incredible team, including a BYU-Idaho student from the social work department that works and helps me, work with BYU-Idaho students and recruit them. And, between the four of us, we try to find as many volunteers as we can to come and help these kids.
What does the recruitment process look like? If someone wants to volunteer, how do they do it? Or who are you guys looking for?
Yeah. If I were to boil it down to one thing that matters with volunteers, it's people who care. It doesn't really matter what experiences you've had previous to the point of your semester, of your volunteer trip. Maybe you've worked with kids, maybe you haven't. But if you want to make a difference and you care about making a difference, that's what makes a good volunteer. People who show up every day for those kids, willing to work their hardest and put their best foot forward, willing to work through the struggles and the chaos that sometimes ensues from working with so many kids. It's those volunteers that really make the biggest difference. You 100% get out of it what you put into it. I also think volunteers who understand that these are God's children that we're working with is really important. When you have that understanding and you understand their just innate divine worth and individual worth as children of God, it makes it so easy to serve them and want to be their friend and want to advocate for them. We really believe that our volunteers, they put in the time, they put in the effort, they do the activities, but we're really just God's hands in action. And it's really incredible to see the love he has and show that to the kids through the work that our volunteers do. So no crazy specific requirements, people who want to make a difference and are willing to put aside time and money and effort to come and impact these kids' lives.
And I looked online and it showed that you guys kind of give a lot of information for people who are interested in volunteering or donating. There's some clips on there about a day in a life, and you give a lot of information. Did you have the chance to volunteer before you started working for them, or was this after? Or tell me a little bit about that.
My first trip down was right after I had been hired. I went with my husband and a few other staff members, and we went to Quito and Cuenca, so both of our Ecuador locations, and just met the kids, saw the routine, were introduced to the activities that the volunteers are doing with the kids, some of the kids that we work with pretty frequently. So that was the first time that I've been down, but I've been down countless times since then, and it's incredible. Like I don't even have words to describe how much these kids impact you and how meaningful it is to meet them and hear their stories, learn their names, and remember those stories and those names.
That's beautifully said. Something that I wanted to touch on is that there's like year-round opportunities, right? There's like several where you can go from 1 week to a couple months. So this is an opportunity that someone could take at any point in the year, right?
Yeah, pretty much. The beauty of our program is we have opportunities for everyone. So you can go on your own. You can go with friends. You can go with a spouse. You can go as a family. Like, we have an incredible family program where families can bring their kids of any ages and come work as a family and serve these kids as a family. For college students, we have 2 opportunities mainly. The first is our short-term program. You can go anywhere between one week and 11 weeks, and that's pretty much year-round. We have a few weeks where we're full, or we close the program for administrative purposes. But other than that, you can kind of choose when and how long you go. But probably our most meaningful program is our semester abroad program, and that's for students, young adults. You don't necessarily have to be a student, I guess, really just young adults. And the awesome thing for BYU-Idaho students is that it lines up with the BYU-Idaho semester schedules. So BYU-I students don't have to miss more than one semester to come and experience it. We have 3-month semesters that line up with the fall, winter, and spring. And then we have a 1.5-month semester that lines up with that 6-7 week summer break. So yeah, there's opportunities for everyone. But the semester abroad program is my favorite because you get, to spend enough time that you make those connections, you meet the kids, you get to know them and kind of understand what activities they like and how you can best impact them. It's also 3 months is a great opportunity to get to know the culture and see new things and go on adventures and do excursions. It's just a really good time frame to accomplish what's needed.
That's nice that it lines up, so it's something that a student here could do during an off track or a different semester.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys have a list of values where it says love, safety, faith, worth, responsibility, and family. Is there one value that stands out to you?
I don't know if I could pick one, but my 2 favorite are love and responsibility, because we believe it kind of talks about this in the Family Proclamation to the World, but we believe parents have a responsibility to care for their children and nurture them and help them grow. But what it doesn't really talk about is what happens when that doesn't happen, when parents choose to neglect their children or can't care for them for whatever reason. What happens then? And that's kind of where we've decided it's the responsibility of good people and good organizations to pick up the slack and to love and care for those children. And that responsibility, I think, is a really cool perspective to have going into it. It's our responsibility as good people to serve others, put others before ourselves, to love our neighbor, to look for opportunities to serve and care for those people around us. And then love, love is what makes the world go round. Like, that's why we exist. That's why we live. And it would be such a lonely world, such a dark world if we didn't have love. And it's a 2-way street, 100%. Our volunteers give so much love to these kids, so much time, so much effort. And in return, these kids love them back. And that's a really, really beautiful thing to witness.
I guess, do you have anything else that you like to add before we close?
Yeah. If I could just leave you with one thing, I think a lot of times people struggle to understand how they can make a difference. And I think it's a pretty natural feeling to want to do something, to want to make a difference in the world around you. But I think it's hard to understand how to do that. But my advice for anybody who's feeling that way, who feels like they want to do something, they want to have this experience, do it now. Do it while you have the chance. Do it while you're young and you maybe have less responsibility than you will in 10 years. Take the chance now and you will never regret it. And that's a promise that I'll make. You will never regret doing something like this, whether it's with our organization or not. Make service a priority and it'll impact you for the rest of your life. And if you don't do it now, there's potential that you might come to regret that someday. So
thank you so much for sharing. I'm Ariel Millett for BYU-Idaho Radio, and I'm here with Brooke Henry. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.